This is the champion of Pokémon Brick Bronze, and today I have 24 hours to get our full team of level 100 Pokémon, capture all 4 legendary birds, and finally beat him alongside all 8 gyms and the Elite 4. But without further ado, this is how I survived 24 hours in Pokémon Brick Bronze. The timer begins, so we get straight into it. Now having to pick my starter Pokemon. This was a hard decision, but I went with Squirtle because his water typing will be very useful for the second gym. Now with Squirtle, I beat up my rival Jake and go through Route 1 before realizing my parents have been abducted. And after that, the last thing they gave me, this random brick, got stolen by Linda. Yeah, it's not going well for me so far. And it's going to get even worse because I added 3 rules to make this challenge even harder. 1. I can't heal during any battles. 2. I can't overlevel past the next gym leader's ace. And 3. I can't lose a single battle or it's over. Yeah, this is going to be rough. But on the bright side, we now have access to Gale Forest, where I intend to catch my first Pokemon, Pikachu. While Pikachu seems like a terrible option to catch, as it has terrible attack and can only be evolved around the 4th gym, there's a single item that turns him from a weakling into an early game beast, the Light Ball. The Light Ball doubles both of Pikachu's attack stats, so we needed it. The only problem is that the Light Ball is very rare, at a 5% chance to be held by Pikachu, and even worse, Pikachu only has a 3% chance to be encountered, meaning getting a Pikachu with a Light Ball is an insane 0.15% chance. But since we're obviously on a time crunch by catching a Caterpie, grinding poor camper Steve in Gale Forest, and evolving Caterpie into a Butterfree, we get the ability Compound Eyes, which essentially quadruples the chance of Pikachu holding a Light Ball, allowing us to get one after just 5 minutes of grinding on our first Pikachu. Now with a nice team of Pikachu which I called Lucky, Squirtle which I called Shelly, and Butterfree which I called Eyes, we continued through Gale Forest, beating Linda using our powerful Butterfree, and going through Route 3, which is literally like 5 centimeters long. What is even the point of this route? Eventually we get to Sylvan City, where the first gym is. Yay, time to verse the gym! No, because we actually have probably the worst team ever to face the gym's electric types. With a flying type, a water type, and an electric type, I was cooked, because remember the rules I have set don't allow me to just spam potions to get past gyms or just overlevel my Pokemon. I needed something else for this gym. I needed a ground type. A ground type would be peak for this gym as it straight out resists the gym leader's electric moves. But unfortunately, the only ground type you can get before the first gym is this little guy, Nincada. So after catching one on Route 3, naming it Floor, and training up all my Pokemon to the level cap of 14, it was time to challenge Chad, the gym leader. After wasting a lot of precious time training and catching pokes, I needed this fight to go smoothly, and that it did. I was able to take out Chad's first Pokemon using a mix of Poison Powder with Butterfree and a quick Electro Ball with Pikachu. But his next Pokemon was scary. His Pikachu has Charge Beam, which has a chance of boosting his attack every time he hits. Luckily with Nincada, the move could never hit, and I had the opportunity to spam stand attacks, turning Pikachu as accurate as a blind man, allowing Squirtle to take it out with some bites, securing the Arc Badge. Now I was halfway through hour 2, meaning we weren't on great pace, so I quickly bought some potions and began my journey to Brimba City. I told Ninkada cut to get to Route 4, where I skipped as many trainers as I could. After all, time is of the essence. On Route 4 we actually evolved Squirtle into Water Tool and learned the powerful move Water Pulse, which was going to be really useful for the fire gym coming up. Now in hour 3 it was time to verse Jake. This fight was actually a breeze. I took out his Eevee with my Pikachu, then his Blitzel with Ninkada, and his Nidoran with Water Tool. After beating Jake, I had gotten to Brimba City, but before facing the gym, I had to go deal with Team Eclipse, so I got set up, buying some repels before tackling Route 6 and Mount Ignis. The repels saved me much needed time, and I was able to finish all the Team Eclipse drama with ease. Now the fire gym was open for business, so I took out all the trainers using my Water Tool, but I was still underleveled. Haha, I wonder why. So I went back to Route 5 to train up on Bugcatcher Allen, which gave amazing experience as he has 2 fully evolved Pokemon. This got Ninkada to evolve into, well, 2 Pokemon actually, Ninjask and Shedinja. Shedinja, while having terrible stats, has the amazing ability Wonder Guard, only allowing super effective moves to hit, so this could come in use later on. Anyway, now with a level 25 Water Tool, I was ready to face the Fire-type gym leader, Sebastian. The gym was very scary as all his Pokemon know the 120 power move Overheat, but luckily his Litleo and Growlithe went down easily from some water pulses from Shelly, but his Ace Magma was going to be a lot more trouble. With insane stats for the early game, he could literally end this run. So I went safe, poisoning him with Butterfree and stalling him until he was down to just red HP, allowing Water Tool to finish him off without a problem. Now with the Brimstone badge, I was looking good for time, so I went over to Route 7 where I actually wanted to catch my next team member, Routes. Routes is an amazing catch, as its Psychic type will help a lot with Team Eclipse's poison types, and its Fairy typing will come in handy to deal with Tess's Dragon types. And not to mention the level 100 Mega Salamence the champion has. Yeah, I don't even want to think about how we're taking that out. So after running in the grass for a little while, I found one, caught it, and called it Sala Eater, for obvious reasons. Now with routes, it had turned to hour 4, so I wasted no time and cooked through Route 7. I mean, Lightball Pikachu really showed his power here, taking down the Lumberjack mini-boss with ease. But now with the Bidoof under control, the Lumberjack boss came in here with his plus 1000 aura and told everyone to just put the fries in the bag, which allowed us to move on to Laguna Lake. At Laguna Lake, I got the Mystic Water to boost Shelly's water moves by 20% and even got the TM Brick Break, which I put on Lucky to give him some more coverage. Anyway, I now moved on to Route 8, where me and my super strong and intelligent friend Jake get to do some double battles. Yay! No, Jake sucks. And even worse, this route had a ton of unskippable trainers, which were really going to drain time, but they did give good XP, allowing routes to evolve into Curlier. After wasting a long 20 minutes on a single route because of Jake, I mean, bro literally used an ice type move against the fire type when he literally has a Vaporeon with 50 good water moves. Yeah, I'm still traumatized. But at least we were now at Rose Cove City where the third gym is at. But before we can face it, more Team Eclipse drama. Fortunately, Team Eclipse didn't use too much time and we could easily sweep through the trainers using a mix of Water Tool and Pikachu, which even got some good moves like Discharge for Lucky and Shell Smash for Shelly, which actually turned him into a glass cannon, so that might come in handy for later gyms. But with the trainers defeated, I had to take out the admin who was harassing some old man for his blue balls, so I had to teach him a lesson. Now it was hour 5, so I wasted no time and started training for the gym with this bridge of trainers, which was actually super easy with Pikachu, and in no time we were awarded with the King's Rock and even evolved Wartortle into a Blastoise. So it was time to take on the gym. Quentin wasn't much of a problem. I could one bang both his Wilma and his Ace Huntail with Thunderbolt, and for his Gorbis I actually could use Shedinja because of his Wonder Guard ability we talked about before. So with that, we take out by far the easiest gym, earning the float badge. Anyway, after the gym I taught Shelly the TM we earned, Scold, before going straight to Route 9. Yeah, we didn't even need to heal. That's how easy the gym was. In Route 9 we had to take out both Jake and Tess with no rest in between, so this was going to be quite challenging. The Jake fight was first, which was pretty easy. I took out his Vaporeon and Slowpoke with Lucky, his Nidorino with Shelly, and his Zebstrika with some Brick Breaks from Lucky. That coverage did come in handy. Now right after that Jake fight, it was time for Tess, and I tried using Pikachu, but a Sand Tome from her Gabite set me well in the sand. But thankfully Blastoise with his great stats and Mystic Water was able to spam Scalds to get us through the battle. That was way too close. And right after the battle, Curly decides it wants to evolve into Gardevoir. It would have been helpful if he could have done that literally 5 minutes ago. But even with Gardevoir, something was clear. We needed a new Pokemon. So I went to Florchloose Manor, where I wanted to find a Pokemon with a good typing, as having 3 bug types on the team wasn't great. So by clicking on a suspicious looking purple candle, I was able to catch Litwick, an amazing fire ghost type. And before leaving Florchloose Manor, I caught a Shuppet for its ability Frisk, and called it Pedo, cause Frisk, and I also got the Dust Stone for Lampit's evolution. Anyway, with Litwick replacing Floor, it was time to head over to Amphion City, so I stocked up on repels and managed to get there before hour 6. Now in the beautiful sight that is Amphion City, I heard some yap about my missing parents. Yeah, no one cares, until I finally got a chance to run a few errands. The first thing I did was buy a Thunderstone from the stone shop to finally evolve Pikachu into Raichu, and I also got a hoverboard for quicker travel. So after grinding experience for the rest of hour 6, which got lucky to the level cap, it was now time to face Stefan, the flying type gym leader. The battle began and Lucky managed to one-bang his Staraptor with a Thunder Punch. Then for his next Pokemon, Skarmory, I weakened it with Litwick before finishing it off with Lucky. Next up was Aerodactyl, which had the secondary rock typing, meaning Blastoise could one-bang it with a Scald. And after that, he had another Staraptor, which went down as easy as the first, and now it was time for Quentin's ace Pokemon, Braviary. Braviary is a very powerful Pokemon, so I used the same strategy I used for Magma in the Fire Gym and Poison Sword, before finally swapping into Raichu to finish it off, winning me the Soaring Badge. Now with Quentin defeated and the clock ticking, it's down to the Sewers to do some more Team Eclipse nonsense. Yay, the Sewers were very painful, filled with electric type Pokemon that we had no counter for, but we did get some major upgrades, like Gardevoir learning Psychic, and more notably, Litwick evolving to Lampit, and after using the Dust Stone, into Chandelure. But after reaching the end of the Sewers, it was time to face the Professor. Yeah, he's evil now by the way. How the Professor works is that he always has 6 fully evolved starter Pokemon, including 2 Grass, 2 water, and 2 fire. Fortunately, we have a new Chandelure for grass, and then Raichu and Blastoise for both water and fire, meaning we could easily counter all his Pokemon and win without a problem. With the Professor defeated, I still wasn't finished with the Team Eclipse yet, and I had to do some other stuff. You know, go back in time, stop the universe, take out some terrorists, simple stuff. But at least now we got the TM Fly, which none of our team members can use. So I just took a Skytrain to get to Route 11. Route 11 was a super fast route. I even had time to talk to a baddie before going to Arida City. Yeah, I'm so cool. But now in Arida City, I saw a huge fat man sleeping and I immediately wanted him. To get Snorlax, I would need to catch an Ekans, so I got right to work, getting to the Arida ruins without encountering any traders. Yeah, I see you, Ninja, you ain't slick. At the ruins, I took out some Team Eclipse goons before beginning to look for Ekans. And despite Ekans being only the 3rd rarest Pokemon you can find here, it still took a long 20 minutes to eventually find one. I even ended up finding the rarest Pokemon you can find there, Zora, back to back, which has a 1 in 4,216 chance of happening. But it was all worth it, as after training the Ekans for the Pokeflute, I was able to wake up Snorlax and catch him, calling him skinny, cause we don't discriminate around here. Now with Snorlax, I switched him out for eyes before taking on the gym immediately. Okay, for this gym it might be a little cheesy, but I took advantage of Shedinja's Wonder Guard ability, taking out both Quagsire and Steelix without a problem, but it did take like 10 hours. Next up was his Claydol, which had the move Shadow Ball to counter Shedinja's cheesiness, so I had to switch to my second plan, Blastoise. I used Scalds to get Claydol low and burnt before using 2 Shell Smashes to dramatically boost my attack and speed. This boost allowed me to, no joke, outspeed and one-shot his Claydol and Extra Drill, leading only his ace. The first Mega I have ever faced, the Destroyer, the Beast, Mega Garchomp. Yeah, I outspared and one-shot him also, winning the Credit Badge with ease. Now with the 5th gym defeated, we were awarded the Ground TM, Bulldoze, which I put onto Blastoise, finally giving me a counter to electric type Pokemon. But now it was time to leave Arida City behind and move on to Floruma City, where there was literally nothing to do except fight the gym. No Team Eclipse, no rival fights, no extra little areas, just the gym. And while this was a grateful time, it also meant we were extremely underleveled. So with the clock ticking, I had to use brains over bronze, catching a Pidgeotto at Kragnos Cliffs before flying to Brimba City and getting the very useful item, Charcoal, boosting Chandelure's fire moves by 20%, which will really help with our grass gym coming up. Now with the Charcoal, I headed over to the gym, shot some fruit into this bucket like Steph's Curry, and then took on Fissy. Yeah, this gym leader has a trash name. Since we were underleveled for this fight, I used Shedinja's Wonder Guard to take out both Fissy's Leavenny and Tropius, but the next 3 Pokemon all had moves that were super effective to Shedinja, so it was now Chandelure's time to shine. First up was Breloom, which Chandelure could one bag before Fissy sent out his Resurade, which was more of a problem, poisoning me before I could take it out. Next up was Tangrowth, which I was able to take out with 2 Flame Bursts, but sadly, Chandelure fainted right after from Reserade's poison. And now Fissy was about to send out his ace, a Mega Venusaur. I was cooked. Well, actually, nope. It turns out Venusaur has 0 super effective moves against Shedinja, giving us an easy end to this battle. but from now on we'll be facing a lot more dark and ghost types, so Shedinja will basically turn utterly useless. At least it got to shine before that happens. Anyway, with the harvest badge now complete, Tess and this random guy come glaze me and give me rock climb before saying I needed to go to Frostvale City, which I was, until on Route 16 where I would have to fight 3 Team Eclipse members back to back to back, which seems hard, except when you realize that one of them is now Jake. Honestly, I'm happy this guy turned to the dark side because he's so dumb. Anyway, I was able to take out the first 2 Team Eclipse members easily using Salad Eater, but now it was time to face Jake. I slept through this fight. I literally could use my 1 HP Shedinja to take out his striker because it kept using agility. Then his other Pokemon went down just as easily. His Nidoking got cooked from a single Scald from Shelly, his Slowbro and Vaporeon got destroyed from some Thunder Punches from Lucky, and even his cool new Pokemon, Arcanine, got one bang by Blastoise. Honestly, such an easy battle. Fighting the level 5 Eevee from the start would have been harder. With the formidable Jake defeated, I was now on to Route 16, which I sped through. I mean, I had to. We were already on hour 10. After Route 16 was Frostvale City, where it was time to face the gym. But I had no option but to waste some valuable time to train up my Pokemon. And that I did, for a good 45 minutes. Getting Belly Drum on Snorlax, which will be useful much later on, and more importantly, getting Gardevoir to a solid level 60. Then I taught both Snorlax and Blastoise Brick Break before facing Zeke, the Dark type gym leader. Now that's a cool name. Okay, this battle was the first one in a while where I was actually scared that we could seriously lose this challenge. My Pokemon were still pretty underleveled, and cheeky strategies like Shell Smash Blastoise and Wonder Guard Ninja just couldn't work here. Luckily, it started off relatively well, taking out his Hodgecrow with a Raichu, and then his next Pokemon, Crocodile, got one bang from an insane 120 power Wave Crash from Blastoise. Now was his Bishop, which has a 4 times weakness to fighting type moves, so 2 Brick Breaks from Raichu was enough to demolish him. After that was a pure dark type Umbreon, so I used 2 Moonblast on Gardevoir to take it out, but it was able to poison us in the process. Then Zeke sent out yet another Crocodile, and since Blastoise was too weak from taking out the other one, I relied on Snorlax, which did some okay damage, allowing Blastoise to come in, barely tank a Fire Fang, and finish off Snorlax's work with a Scald. But now, it was time for Zeke's strongest and scariest Pokemon, Mega Houndoom. Mega Houndoom is an absolute beast, and with a weakened and underleveled team, I honestly wasn't sure in this moment if I would make it out alive, but I gave it my all. First off, I tried to outspeed and use Brick Break on Raichu, but Mega Houndoom is just too fast and it one-shot me. It was clear I needed a status effect, so I swapped into Chandelure, getting off a Confused Ray before fainting, turning this fight into a no way I win, into if I get lucky I could win. So while Houndoom was still confused, I sent out Gardevoir as it was my only chance to take it out. All I needed it to do is hit itself. And it did just that, allowing me to get off a Moonblast, but that somehow wasn't enough. Fortunately, the small chance that Moonblast lowers special attack actually happened, meaning I was able to barely take another hit and come back with a final Moonblast, finishing the battle. Yeah, this was by far the closest I was to losing this challenge. If Gardevoir fainted, it would have been over. Anyway, we now get awarded the Contrast Badge and even the TM Surf, but it's not over yet, because upon entering hour 11, it was now time to face Tess. Fortunately, we now have a Gardevoir who was able to take out the pure Dragon types while I used a mix of my team to take out the mixed dragon types, allowing me to win the battle without much of a hassle. After beating Tess, it was time to head over to Port Decker, and on the way there we were able to lay eyes on the Warrior League. I mean, I still can't believe we have to enter that building and face the champion soon. Funnily enough, once we headed over to Port Decker, we actually got to meet Champion Brad, my nemesis. But he was also very nice and gave us the ability to use surf outside of battle. But I still hate him and I will one day crush him. But thanks for letting me use surf, bro. With the ability to now use surf outside of battle, I laid eyes on a very strong Pokemon I wanted to catch. But to get this Pokemon, I needed the Good Rod. And after talking to a lonely fisherman on a remote island in Rove Cove City, we got it. But that's when I saw a mysterious cave. And well, curiosity took the better of me. This cave was called the Silver Cove, and I have a slight feeling we will have to return here later. But for now, I returned to Rove Cove City and saw this French fry guy which I talked to. Yeah, I was pretty hungry, don't judge me. After threatening to munch on some fries, I went over to Route 9 and into this secret little place called the Grave of Dreams. And upon fishing in this little lake with a Good Rod, we have a small 2% chance to find the powerful Pokemon I want, Dratini. So I began fishing, expecting this to take a good half an hour. But after just a short 5 minutes, we actually found the Dratini and managed to catch it in a Pokeball. Now back at Port Decker, I switched Dratini for Shedinja, because yeah, Shedinja's ability is really good, but this far into this game, I just needed a strong Pokemon like Dragonite. So Shedinja, I thank you for your service, but get your ass in the PC. Now I arrived in Crescent Town, where I saw a shady Team Eclipse member enter a building. And inside, after pulling a Juice Cake's lever, it revealed their secret hideout. I mean, that's cool and all, but where's my juice? I expected the Team Eclipse base to be super over leveled and require me to heal after every battle. But it actually was a breeze, and the few times we might get a little low, I just popped a hyper potion in between battles and continued, saving me massive time. We were even able to evolve Dratini into Dragonair with all the XP we were getting. But at the end of the base, we were going to have to face Jake. So I taught Blastoise the Bulldoze TM to counter his Zebstrika and began the last ever Jake rival fight. We started off well, taking out his Zebstrika with my new Bulldozes from Blastoise, but his Nidoking proved to be more of a problem, tanking a hit from Shelly before destroying it with a powerful thrash. Luckily, Raichu could outspeed and finish it off with a Brick Break. For his Slowbro, Lucky was still able to take it out quite easily with a Thunder Punch. But now his Arcanine was out, and since Blastoise already fainted, this was going to be rough. Arcanine is an absolute beast and managed to take out Raichu with an extreme speed since the move has priority. But I had a counter, Chandelure. Since extreme speed is a normal type move, Chandelure resisted it and could spam Shadow Balls, taking out the Arcanine. Then his new Pokemon Delimise went down just as easily as it shares Chandelure's ghost typing. Last but definitely least was his Vaporeon, which got absolutely destroyed by Gardevoir's ability, Trace, as it copied Vaporeon's Water Absorb, neglecting any of Vaporeon's water moves, letting me take it out with a few Moonblasts. Definitely the hardest Drake battle I have ever done, and it really shows that the battles were only gonna get harder from here. Now it was hour 12, marking the halfway point for this challenge, so I didn't waste any time and headed straight to the Arboli outpost. I don't know how to say it. Just like Team Eclipse's base, the outpost wasn't too hard, and not before long we made it to the end where we had to face the Team Eclipse final boss, the Professor, and even catch Hoopa, but I forgot to buy dust balls. With my new dust balls, I entered the Demon's Tome, where we had to endure a lot of yapping, but eventually it was time to fight the Professor, which was a lot stronger than last time. A lot. This battle was scary. My heart was honestly beating going into it, so I tried to use the same plan I did for his first fight, as he still was using 2 of every type of starter. This started off well, one banging his Greninja with a crit Thunder Punch from Lucky, and his Decidueye with a crit Shadow Ball from Chandelure. So far, so good. Next up was his Incineroar, which Shelly took out with some Surfs. Then I took out his Empoleon with some of Raichu's Thunder Punches, which were even able to get a paralysis. But now, the luck was over, and his next Pokemon, Sceptile, got off a crit Leaf Storm on Chandelure, which hit hard, and after barely surviving a Flame Burst, it managed to take me out. Luckily, next turn, Raichu could outspeed and finish off Chandelure's work with a Brick Break. But now for the Professor's ace, Mega Charizard X. I started off using Blastoise, which was able to barely take a Rock Slide on just 38 HP and hit back pretty hard with a Surf. Now, with a very weakened team, I switched into Gardevoir because it used Dragon Claw, allowing me to hit another Moonblast, finishing it off and winning the battle. Then after winning, Jake decided to YOLO it into the portal, apparently saving Tess. Like, I know you wanna get laid, but damn. However, this man was all down to me to catch the legendary beast, Hoopa. I got him on yellow HP and paralyzed with Raichu, and after just using one dust ball, I somehow caught it. I named it Very Lucky, in tribute to Lucky the Raichu, because catching a legendary first try on around half HP is pretty insane. But with Hoopa Core, it had turned to hour 13 and we still haven't completed any of my goals, so I quickly jumped into the 8th gym. Unfortunately, we were underleveled again, but we couldn't afford to waste time grinding, especially when we were so close to the victory road. So I thought of other ways to prepare for the gym. First off, I headed to the graveyard for the spell tag, which will boost Chandelure's ghost type moves. But actually it turned out we had never been to the graveyard, so the trainer we found there was a little weaker than us. I mean, this poor guy was talking about how he's visiting his dead parents, and then I just steamroll his whole team with the legendary beast Hoopa. Anyway, the next and most important thing I did was switch Dragonair for Hoopa just for this fight, as Dragonair was severely underleveled while Hoopa starts at a decent level 65. Finally, since Snorlax can't be hit by ghost type moves, I spent a total of $60,000 teaching him 2 moves, Rest and Crunch. Rest as it is super important to have on a tank, and Crunch because it's super effective against ghost type Pokemon, so I'm hoping Snorlax will help for the gym. Okay, starting off, I went with Hoopa to set up Trick Room, which makes the slower Pokemon go first, and since we're so underleveled, most times we're that slower Pokemon. With this strategy, I was able to take out his Gengar using Hoopa's Dark Pulse, but the move got disabled by Gengar's ability. Next up was Decidueye, which I had to take out using another dark move I had, Knock Off. Hoopa was doing really well, but the next Pokemon, Spiritomb, ended up being its end, putting Hoopa to sleep before spamming Shadow Balls to eventually take it out. I tried using Gardevoir to finish off a Spiritomb, but since I was naturally faster, Trick Room was actually a curse, and paired with 2 flinches in a row, we were down to red HP before even taking out the Spiritomb. Since my Trick Room strategy was finished, I tried Snorlax with Crunch against the next Pokemon, Mismagius, but it kept using Psywave instead of a ghost move and managed to take me out before I could even use a single Crunch. $30,000 wasted. So it was all down to my staff of his gym, Chandelure. The spell tag really came in handy, as some Shadow Balls was enough to take out Captain B's Miss Magius and Anger Slash before it was time for her ace Pokemon, Mega Sableye. I'm going to be honest here, Mega Sableye was probably the easiest ace Pokemon I have ever faced with its terrible stats. It was a cakewalk to beat. Anyway, with the gym complete, I pull Hoopa back in the PC, thanking it for its outstanding performance, before realizing that all we had left was the Royal League. But before tackling more tense battles, I decided to try to complete my second goal of catching the 3 legendary birds, Zapdos, Moltres, and Articuno. To do this, I needed 3 deep sea scales, and the easiest way to get them is by catching Chinchous in Kragnos mines, which have a small chance of holding one. So we took back the OG Eyes, Force Ability Compound Eyes, and also the Sharpie we caught in Fortress Manor, Force Ability Frisk. And it seemed like my plan was working, as the first encounter I found was a Chinchou with a scale. The other 2 scales, however, took a lot longer, and fishing went into hour 14 before we finally managed to get them. So I returned to Port Decker and traded these scales for 3 different tickets: the Voltaic ticket for Zapdos, the Frigid ticket for Articuno, and finally the Obsidian ticket for Moltres. Now with these tickets ready to be used, I bought $30,000 worth of dust balls and a good amount of max repels before heading to Voltaic Island for my first legendary bird, Zapdos. Catching Zapdos was difficult. My first plan was using Thunder Punch on Raichu to get him low, then Hypnosis on Gardevoir, but I kept using Roost to heal and Hypnosis kept missing, so I accepted defeat, switching to another strategy of using Snorlax's body slams to get him low and then just spamming dust balls, eventually catching it, naming it Pain because pain. Next up was Moltres, which looked absolutely beautiful, so I had to catch him. And with the new method of body slams, we eventually caught it, naming it Annoying because of how many freaking dust balls it wasted. My hunt for all the legendary birds went into hour 15, when it was time to catch the last one, Articuno on Frigid Island. Despite being paralyzed and low, Articuno took by far the most dust balls, leaving me with only 6 after I caught it, so I called it Depression. Honestly, I just did this to keep up with the trend. But on a happy note, we now had all 3 legendary birds, leaving just one thing before goal 2 was complete: Lugia. To get Lugia, I had to put all 3 legendary birds in my party, talk to this grandpa next to the squirrel fountain in Chesma Town, and then receive the Silver Wing used to summon Lugia. Now with the Silver Wing, I returned to Silver Cove and stepped on this suspicious looking platform, allowing the legendary beast Lugia to summon. This was by far the coolest legendary I have ever seen. Catching Lugia was actually a lot easier than expected. My familiar strategy of body slams on Snorlax worked on Lugia as well, getting it low and paralyzed before my last of 6 dust balls was able to catch it. I was super happy. So with all 4 legendary birds in my PC, that means the second goal for this challenge has been completed. But we still had the Elite 4 and Champion ahead of us, so it's time to head to the Royal League. The Royal League looked amazing, and inside it was time to withdraw my party, consisting of Blastoise, Raichu, Gardevoir, Chandelure, Snorlax, and Dragonair. Yeah, we were horrifically underleveled and underprepared for the difficult fights up ahead, so I had to use some time training. Luckily, we now had access to Schoolgirl Joy, whose team of 4 gives a combined total of 26,718 experience. So I trained for a little while, and by a while, I mean 3 hours. After 3 hours of just exploiting this little girl for XP, we managed to get everyone but Dragonite to level 100, so I felt ready for the victory road. And I was really glad I trained up my Pokemon, because these trainers were no joke. But despite this, I managed to take out the final trainer and have access to the Elite Four. This was it. It was time to enter the Elite Four. Yeah, nope. Tess is somehow here and wants to battle. I honestly don't know how she got through all 8 gyms. Luckily, with a level 100 Gardevoir, this fight was no problem. Gardevoir literally one-banged every single one of Tess's Pokemon with Moonblast, including her Mega Altaria. This was going to be good training for the level 100 Mega Salamence who we'll have to face soon. But I was going to have to put that on hold, because even with access to the Elite Four, I wasn't even close to being ready. I mean, these battles would determine if I was a failure forever, so I had to prepare. And I mean, really prepare. The first thing I did was train up Dragonite to level 100. And after grinding Schoolgirl Joy a little more, we had done it. A full team of level 100 Pokemon, completing my third goal. Now it was hour 19 and I continued my preparing by getting useful health items for each and every one of my Pokemon. I got the Magnet for Lucky from those passes in Route 14, the Dragon Fang for Dragonite at the Path of Truth, and giving Salaeeta the King's Rock we got at Rose Cove City. Since for item to boost fairy type moves, the Pixie Plate is locked behind Underwater Mining, which is locked behind Robux, and just look at my hair. But we were still missing one very important thing: Mega Evolution. In the Elite Four battles, basically every trainer has a Mega Pokemon, which are crazy strong, so not getting one for my team would be a huge disadvantage. So I threw a cool $150 at the Amphion City Stone Shop for the Blastoise Knight, but it's worth it as Mega Blastoise is a beast. So now I truly felt ready. Ready to take on the Elite Four and ready to take on the champion. So after using my last $70,000 on heals, I walked down the victory road, down the carpet, and into the door to the Elite Four. My heart was pounding, but with a few spare minutes on hour 19, it was time to face the first Elite Four member, Old School Dude. Old School Dude specializes in steel type Pokemon, so I started off with charcoal boosted Chandelure, which did amazingly, one-bagging his first 2 Pokemon, Ferrothorn and Angerslash. Then for his Excadrill, I switched to Blastoise, because honestly I just want to see him Mega Evolve, and he didn't disappoint, one-shotting the Excadrill with a Surf. But this is where it got rocky. His next Pokemon, Jirachi, kept using Iron Head, which had a 60% chance to flinch with the ability Serene Grace, making Chandelure flinch 3 times in a row and even faint before Dragonite could finally finish it off. But now it was time for Old School's ace, Mega Metagross. For this, I switched into Mega Blastoise to have a Mega vs Mega. Metagross kinda cooked me though, as Shelly only got off a single Surf before fainting. But Lucky absolutely cooked on the other hand, outspeeding with a Thunderbolt and tanking a super effective Rock Slide on just 6 HP, allowing it to take out the Metagross next round, winning me the battle. But that is just the beginning. So in hour 20 I healed up using the heals I bought and approached the next Elite Four member, Jamie. What is that name? Since Jamie specializes in ice types, I opened with Chandelure again, and while it burned through Ninetales and Titan, it took some serious damage while doing so. Then came Mamoswine, and my attacks barely scratched it before Chandelure went down. With my ace gone, it's time for and with a single surf, that ground typing meant Mammothswine was done in one hit. Next was Kyurem, a literal legendary. I swapped to Dragonite and Kyurem Stone Edge cut me to half health. Luckily, Dragon Boosted Outrage absolutely erased Kyurem, leaving Jamie's ace, Mega Galley. Raichu tried Brick Break but got one bang by an Earthquake, showing Galley's power. Then I switched to Dragonite, who tanked the crunch and was able to hit back hard, but went down 2. So with only 3 Pokemon left, I sent in Gardevoir, and apparently Galley just couldn't handle Gardevoir's beauty because it blew itself up with Explosion. Good job, Gardevoir. I guess. Now with half the Elite Four done, the battles were only gonna get harder from here, so I made sure to heal up to 100% before proceeding to the third Elite Four member, our hero. Our hero specializes in poison types, so I opened with Gardevoir and hit Toxicroak with a 4 times super effective Psychic, getting an instant knockout. Next up was Annihilate, so I switched to Chandelure, this time holding a spell tag to boost Shadow Ball. So after tanking a Rage Fist, Chandelure managed to do some great damage with Shadow Ball before fainting, letting Gardevoir come back in, survive a Drain Punch, and finish Annihilate with another Psychic. Then came Breloom. I went for Fly on Dragonite thinking it would be an easy one-shot. Nope, it survived on 1 HP thanks to its Focus Sash. But after tanking a very weak Bullet Seed, Dragonite finished off its 1 HP with a Brick Break. Next was the legendary Terracon, which Mega Blastoise took full advantage of, using Surf to counter its rock typing, one banging it. Yep, one shot a legendary. Finally, our hero's ace, Mega Heracross. It looks terrifying and ugly, but with our 4 times weakness to flying, we got out in no time with a fly from Dragonite, meaning we had won the battle. But now, it was time for the final and strongest Elite Four member, so I healed up and taught Blastoise Dark Pulse before entering the second scariest battle of this challenge. Shrybon was the 4th Elite Four member, specializing in Psychic types, which normally would be scary, but Mega Blastoise with Dark Pulse is broken, thanks to his ability Mega Launcher boosting Pulse moves by 50%, Dark Pulse hits like a truck. So after Mega Evolving, we one-bang Shrybons in DD and Amarok. Then for his Hatterena, I switched to Raichu and landed a super effective Iron Tail for half its health before getting one bang by a Psyshock. Yeah, Hatterena hits hard, but luckily Shelly hits harder and finishes it off with a Surf. Next up was the legendary Mew, so I went to Spell Tag boosted Chandelure to try to get a Shadow Ball off, but Mew used Knockoff, removing my spell tag, meaning it could barely survive a Shadow Ball, showing how important held items are. Luckily, Mew used Swords Dance next turn, letting me take it out with another Shadow Ball. Then finally, Cybon's ace, Mega Alakazam, a glass cannon. This beast could absolutely sweep my whole team, but with Shelly, I could tank a Dazzling Gleam and one-bang it with a Dark Pulse, winning the battle. Yeah, Mega Blastoise is no joke. To think this guy was a level 5 Squirtle 20 hours ago is insane. And as Cybon congratulated me and said I could move on to the champion, I couldn't help but feel bittersweet. This was it. I was about to face the champion, the strongest trainer in the entirety of Warrior. Was I strong enough? Well, it was time to find out. Starting off a battle, I led with Snorlax to use my secret strategy I have been preparing. Belly Drum to max my attack, Rest to heal, and Sleep Talk to attack while I'm asleep. With this strategy, Snorlax becomes a monster, and even though the champion's first Pokemon, Glamora, got its poison spikes up with its ability, I just didn't care and managed to take it out. That would haunt me later in this battle though. One down. Next came Roast on Wash. I had to stay in to keep Snorlax's boost, meaning even with a burn halving my damage, I could still destroy it with just 2 body slams. 2 down. Then the legendary Landorus appeared, forcing me to rest to clear up my burn, but that's when Landorus used U-turn, pivoting into Heatran, and after Sleep Talk unfortunately used Belly Drum, halving my health. I honestly thought Snorlax was done, sitting on just 84 HP, but that's when it tanked an Earth Power, surviving on just 2 HP and healed back to full. After some more unlucky Sleep Talks, Snorlax finally landed the 33% chance of using Body Slam, paralyzing and eventually finishing off Heatran. 3 down, 3 to go. Snorlax is now carrying after not being used once in the Elite Four. Now Landorus came back but immediately U-turned into Goldagon, and since Snorlax can't even hit ghost types, it finally fell after an incredible run. Thank you Snorlax, you did amazingly. But now I brought in Chandelure, who nearly one banged with a Shadow Ball before unfortunately fainting. Then with Goldagon weak, I tried to set up Dragonite and got greedy. After trying to use 2 Dragon Dances, a critical hit Hex took it out before it even attacked. My big second strategy was a complete bust. Thankfully, Lucky cleaned up Goldagon with Thunderbolt, but now Landorus returned yet again and took out Raichu, leaving only Mega Blastoise and Gardevoir to fend for themselves. I was sure it was over, but I pressed on. Shelly fought hard and got Landorus on literally like 5 HP before a U-turn finished off Shelly, revealing Brad's ace Pokemon. The level 100 Mega Salamence we were fearing this entire run. It was now seriously all on Salaeater. Poisoned, badly hurt, but I needed it to live up to its name. And with its traceability copying Salamence's Intimidate, lowering its attack, I had a tiny glimmer of hope. And that's when it happened. Salamence used Dragon Dance. I was now able to get a Moonblast off, and it survives. It survives on red HP. I actually got mad at this moment. Landorus barely survives. Now Salamence? It just wasn't fair. But that's when Brad threw. Instead of attacking, he used Roost, letting Gardevoir Moonblast again for the KO. The big threat was down. Landorus was all that remained, and I could smell victory as Gardevoir tanked a U-turn on just 54 HP and finished it off with a Psychic. From the brink of defeat to victory, Champion Brad was defeated. And as the credits roll, I just want to thank you so much for making it this far through the video, and maybe if you enjoyed watching, you could consider subscribing to see more content from me. It literally takes like 5 seconds and I took like 100 hours to make this video. But anyway, I'll see you guys next time, and peace.